I'm Michael Phillips, Principal Product Designer for Avid. Back in 1989, I was part of a team that developed Avid's Media Composer, a revolutionary product that allowed the editing of film and video material in a digital environment. Back then, we had no way of knowing just how widespread the use of this tool would become and how this technology would revolutionize the way films would forever be made. With the introduction of digital video, the opportunity to become a filmmaker was opened up to just about anyone with a camera, a laptop, and some inspiration. At Avid, we saw the need to create low-cost, high-quality tools to address the needs of these new artists. These days, even established film directors have started to use video as a means to explore new creative directions. Recently, we had a chance to spend some time with David Lynch, the creative genius behind films such as Blue Velvet, The Elephant Man, The Straight Story, and Mulholland Drive. We were privileged to witness how David uses the medium of digital video to explore creative directions that previously may not have been possible, given the high cost of film production. What follows is a glimpse into the creative mind of David Lynch. You'll get to follow David through the process of making a digital video feature. And after watching that, check out the additional materials on the disc that can help guide you as you set off on making your own visual masterpiece. Enjoy.
Both rolling? What is my bio, you mean? Born Missoula, Montana, Eagle Scout. When I was little, I loved to draw guns. And my favorite gun was a Browning automatic water-cooled submachine gun. And I also drew knives, pistols, any kind of army stuff. Then I did some drawings inspired by American Indians. And then I got into oil painting. They were just things, you know, it wasn't like I was in any kind of class. Although in the second grade, I took a painting class, and if I concentrate, I can still smell that room and the feel in that room. It was very beautiful. I didn't realize that a grown person, an adult, could be an artist until I was in the 9th grade and I met Toby Keeler, whose father was a painter. And that conversation I had with Toby changed my life. I've told this story a million times, but when I lived at 13th and Wood in Philadelphia, and I was painting something that was a garden at night, and the green was coming out of darkness. And as I was looking at this, I heard a wind, and I saw the painting plants move. And I thought, wow, that's cool. If paintings, you know, moved and there were sounds. So that got me going on my first animated moving painting. That led to going deeper into film, and certain things happened that led me deeper in, and I kept getting green lights. Film to me is sound and picture moving along in time. And it's like music because music, you know, flows through time. And there are movements and there are changes and there's many opportunities when you play with time. Stories they can be abstract and people can still understand them. More often than not, stories are pretty concrete and there's not a lot of room in them for abstractions. And I love abstractions. You have ideas, and I always say the idea is the most important thing. And the idea tells you everything. The idea is like a seed. The tree is in the seed, but it doesn't look like the tree. So when you finally see the tree, you might make some changes. But when you get an idea, you really do see the whole tree. but it's in an abstract form. So when it comes time for this element, you think back of that idea and you say, am I being true to that idea? Am I being true to that? Am I being true to that idea? And you go like that. A person can have ideas and find a way to learn enough technology to do what they want to do. Learning by doing is, to me, a great way to, to do it. And most of all the things are common sense. So if you have the idea, you can think up a way to realize that idea. And there's cheap ways to go, middle of the road ways to go, and super expensive ways to go. So you can do a lot with a little bit of money and figure out ways, to make it work. And not make it work like Amateurville, but really make it work. You can't go in so fast.
You want to go in?
You do shadow on shadow.
On shadow.
Go slower on that, Eric. Jeez, man. Finesse it, yes. Jeez. Paint with a fine brush. Here we go. A little smile at Emily. Go, Eric. Guys. People do contribute to a film. And in the beginning, it's very important to talk so that everybody is going along on the same track based on that original idea. And then they add in their talents, along the way, and the thing shines. DV filmmaking is the same as every other kind of filmmaking, except the quality is different, the length of a take is different, the lightness of the cameras is different. It's digital, and it means that you can manipulate it in almost countless ways when you're finished. It's a magical medium to me, and it reminds me of the early days of 35 with less sharpness and more room to dream. Script writing is just writing down the ideas so that you understand that they reflect that idea. It's not a final thing in and of itself. It's a blueprint for the film. And so a lot of organizing is done in that stage. And but it's not so important to me about the writing quality as about, getting those ideas so you don't forget them. Now, we're getting dangerously close to shooting.
Rolling, quiet please. Sound speed.
At the beginning of a day of shooting, it's like there's a great gorge with thousands of feet, down to some, watery, rocky depth. And you begin working and build a glass bridge across this gorge. And only after you've gotten the last piece, it turns to steel. And that's sort of the way I think about a day's shooting. This scene is like any other scene. We had 3 cameras, but we weren't using 3 cameras all the time. And I can grab a camera and shoot something, and there's something about holding the camera and feeling a move or a certain framing based on what you're hearing and seeing. The freedom of the thing is what I love. Long takes, 40-minute takes, you don't worry about things like this. It doesn't require the same amount of number of crew. All the parts, all the pieces surrounding a DV camera are a little more lightweight and, compact. And they're inventing many, many more little rigs, to smooth things out and make it go nicer, and it's getting better and better quality all the time. DV sees in the dark. This particular scene has 3 lights, and the middle light will need adjusting in timing and color correction. The final lighting is very dark. But it's hard to get very dark. And people are afraid of very dark. I dislike it because it looks very dark. It's the way it's supposed to look. In 35 millimeter, you don't get to see it till it comes back from the lab. DV gives you that opportunity. It's unbelievable. And if you've got a monitor, you just play it back through the monitor and look at it. I never talk about meanings of things, especially if something is abstract. But it's amazing how much you can talk about without talking about that. And sort of sing out there, and you're a little bit, you're singing out there, and you kind of like just find yourself singing these lines. You don't even know why, just singing these lines. But you're kind of like caught more in that area, just pulling you in that area. There's lots of ways to talk to get people to see what you mean without, talking about certain things.
It's not necessarily the same day. We don't even know. We don't even, I try to ask questions and David will be like, wouldn't you like to know?
Or when I tried to figure it out and I literally got in trouble, I was like, don't you know you don't ask David about it? Oh, yeah.
Every director has a different way of working. So I don't know what other people do. You find yourself saying and doing things to get whoever it is you're talking to understand enough to make it feel correct.
But you just go with it.
Say and do exactly what he says.
Yeah.
And that felt really right. And we had no idea what we were doing either. Or who, what, where, when, why we were doing what we were doing. I didn't, at least I'll speak for myself, But it felt right.
Action.
Uh-oh. Something's happened.
John had a portable Pro Tools rig, and we used lavalier mics and a boom mic. Each actor has their own track, and then there's a mic that has, it's kind of like an overhead mic, gives you another opportunity. And away you go with your laptop and your little box and plug everything in, and it's all on antennas, and it works out real nice. This is a noisy world, and especially noisy where we shot this scene.
This one, whatever you wish.
So a lot of things have to be cleaned, and if there happens to be an airplane underneath a line that you love that line, then you've got to bring in an airplane, match the level that's in that line, and then take it out again.
Are you worried about just some general ambient airplane stuff that's not literally right on top of us?
No.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's a couple where there's jets right overhead. I'll pick out those lines.
Okay, see which lines really need it, and
Okay.
we'll do those. Those things are not necessarily bad unless they break the mood and are the flow of the scene. Then they're bad. So you go to work and try to fix them.
David, you want to hear a couple of these examples? It might not be as bad as I thought it was.
They all sound very muffled.
A little bit. We'll EQ them. Stanley's the worst because of the coat.
I was on Kristen during this. So Stanley's we've got, and we've got Kristen off camera.
Yeah.
I think we're okay. Well, the first assembly, Mary puts together based on the script.
The two of us will look at that first assembly a couple of weeks after principal photography's ended. We do that, used to be on the flatbed, and now we do it just on the Avid.
And it's a point of departure. And from there, you start talking. I like the turn in that, but then there's another series where I'm more from Kristen's point of view.
On Stanley?
On Stanley, and it's a big close-up. Then the next thing gets a little bit closer. Then there's talking. There's like some stuff with them in their chairs before she asked for a drink. And we could maybe, try something like that.
To make it scarier?
Just to kind of get in, get a mood going. With actors, there's rehearsing and talking, rehearsing and talking. rehearsing and talking, and all the time it's getting closer to being the thing. Editing is like far away. It's where it is. It could be close, it could be far away. And it's got to go to feel correct and be right. And that's a process, just like everything else. If you're working with an editor, it's not that you are not ever surprised in a good way. You know, you're working with a great DP, and they can do some incredible things that give you even more than what you expected. Same way with, Mary's editing. These are gifts working with, talented people. And, but if it isn't correct, or it isn't as good as you think it should be based on the original idea, then you say something and you work until you get it that way.
David does not shoot an excessive amount of footage. He's very efficient. But when you have to look at it in film, it's just unbelievably lugubrious, laborious, and time-consuming, and it's just really heavy lifting. Creatively, it's still heavy lifting. You really have to make choices, and you pick the take you like, and then it doesn't cut right to the other ones you have, and it's a very, very time-consuming and labor-intensive part of the process, which is hugely facilitated by the Avid. It cuts the time.
There's a lot of things that you do, before you put it to film. If you weren't going to go to film and you wanted to get a film look, you could fiddle around in lots of different ways, to find a look that you like. And because you see things right away, you can fix it right away if it's not right. And you can try a few things to see if that could even be better. Always your effects should be true to the original idea. It should live and marry to the film. All of your sound is important, and sound like picture, you can do so much with it later on. There's dialogue, sound effects, then there's sound effects that bridge the gap between sound effects and music, and then there's music. Okay, now try this one. High, 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 then go down and make that comfortable.
Okay.
Well, Christabel was the voice coach. They all sang much better than they thought they could. Beautiful, that's it. That's it, that's it. And then there's pitch control, that you can bring in. Sync, there's really not any kind of problem with sync because you can slip things here and there. If you have a happy accident, you can cut that bad boy and place it anywhere you want and bring in all kinds of things underneath it and, extend it and finesse it. And you're mixing as you go. So you're always hearing it, always being able to react to it and build on it until it finally feels correct and it's finished. All these tools are there to make it feel correct based on the original idea. But you could be experimenting and hear something that could lead to, wondrous things. The big screen, there's nothing like it. Then there's the little screen, television. Then there's your computer and the little tiny pictures and really bad sound. There's all kinds of places this thing can end up that you're building. And one thing that you should think about is there's a certain mix that plays great on a big screen in a theater. And that mix may not sound so good on a television. So it might need to be compressed a little bit, squeezed, so you don't have quite the dynamic range. And on the internet, it has to be squeezed even more. So there's all different kind of things to think about because of the different, delivery methods these days. they say something isn't finished until it's finished. And that's really true in filmmaking. And sometimes things take strange routes to get where they feel correct and where they were supposed to be all along, but you didn't know that. So it can theoretically start out being a TV show and end up being a feature film. There's millions of stories about people who did a film solely to get work to do another film. You should enjoy the doing. You can't control what's going to happen after you finish a thing. If you don't enjoy the doing, that part of your life is, gone, and it's not rewarding. Enjoy the doing. And then you have even a greater chance of getting the next thing. Take just a little bit off the bottom. There's tools available now to more and more people. And those tools can be used to realize your dream, your idea. And it's right there, and it's within reach financially. And let's see what comes out. Let's see what comes out.